Welcome, everyone, to another Tony Sirianni podcast. I'm really happy today to have Laurie Stack, who's the VP of Business Development, as well as the head of Avantax Women's Advisor Forum with us today. Thanks for being here, Laurie. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Tony. Excited to be here. It's a topic I'm very passionate about and near and dear to my heart. I've been in the industry over 30 years, so have seen it where it has started and where it has evolved to, and really proud of where we're going.
Yeah, I know it really has changed over the last. I've been in the business, even longer than that, and it's as dear to my heart because my one of my middle daughters, I have four of them, is now in this business. She's starting out and she's working in an RIA, and she's getting her licenses and all that kind of stuff. So I'm
Excellent.
yeah, I'm really optimistic about the future with this stuff. So you and I talked a little bit before, and I know you're passionate about this stuff. And just, because of the breadth of experience you have, what do you see as sort of the two or three most important issues for female advisors today? And I think it's changed over the years, right? I mean, probably
Right.
something 30 years ago, it's different today. So what do you see, today?
So if we kind of go back to where it all started, because I think that's just a good place to start. I believe many women received their opportunity in our profession that's male dominated by a male ally.
Yeah.
So I think the one thing to note and to talk about is that leadership and allyship is not gender specific. It is definitely across the board for the people who want to be inclusionary and set them on their way in the right trajectory. So I think that's where we started. And today I see that I think the narrative for women is changing. And as I spoke to a group of women last year, and we talked about women, in finance breaking the barriers, a woman at the end of the conversation said to me, Laurie, why are we still talking about that? So I gave them, that 18% of our profession is women. And by 2030, 2/3 of the wealth in America will be controlled by women. But that's not what she was asking me, Tony. She was saying, let's change the narrative. So now when we think about women in finance, we think about what tomorrow looks like, what the topic that by 2030, 2/3 of the wealth in America will be controlled by women. So what does that look like? What does building your brand look like? Is that different? Is it the same?
I think that this is a rich topic because we recently did our founders forum, event, which is for multi-billion-dollar teams, right?
Right.
And so all the advisors presented, and they were mostly men. There were women there as well, of course, but yeah, they were presenting, and it was themes that made sense. It was golf tournaments and how they help their clients, all these different things, a lot of process-driven stuff. And then towards the end of the day, a female advisor presented, and everybody was in rapt attention because advisors understand the numbers that you just said. They know that
Right.
2/3 of the wealth is moving. They understand the boomers are aging and women are going to be there. She was talking about how she makes specialized teas for her clients, how she does wellness courses, how she does. All the men were just wide-eyed and mouth open, like, we got to do this. I'm not doing anything like this. There's nothing even remotely like this in my practice. And it was so funny how they all went up to her and they all said, we've got to do better at getting women in the business. So you talked initially about male mentors. And I really do see it as today's financial advisor who's running a business sees this as an opportunity and a challenge, right, to bring the right people in.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Tony, so many women like to go to a golf tournament or a sporting event, but the women, that are building their brand differently inside of Avantax are doing different things. We have Deanna LaRue as one of our top advisors, and she does a whole bougie photo shoot, and she works with many female executives that on the grind, and they have families and balancing all that, but she brings in a photographer and just does something fun just for them. And
Yeah.
not that a man wouldn't enjoy that. I'm not saying that,
Oh,
but
no. But I think to your point, we got to get over thinking about that. We just gotta broaden the offering. Just
right.
as a practical matter. I grew up on a golf course. My dad used to make me play golf. I could do it. I don't like it. I spent my time with my kids when I was the last 50 years.
Right.
But some people would like pictures, and some people would like golf, and some people would like tea, and some people would like scotch tasting.
Right. Some people want to do the Formula One racing that you can do with Porsche, and other people want to do the taste of Atlanta. And so
Right.
go to the best chefs and have a cooking class. And it's just changing the narrative, but also, diversifying your perspective on it. So I think building the brand is really important. And I think the other thing you mentioned earlier, which is part of the future, is next generation. So Caroline Peel is one of our young advisors. She swam at Cal, worked for Nike, and her father retired and she took over his business in Colorado. Now, Caroline was a marketer by education and everything, but coming in, her target market is next gen athletes.
Yeah.
But she took over her father's business. So she has clients that are 70 and 80. So she can't have a one marketing approach fits. So she has to incorporate the best of what her dad did and what she wants to do in the future.
And that ideally, right, that's where everybody is. We're trying to, make that. What other challenges? And this is, of course, I have an interested party in my daughter, but what other challenges for next gen? First of all, look, as this is like everything, we have a challenge just getting next gen people in the business, right? Merrill Lynch cancels their training program. The other thing I see that's disturbs me is that the larger firms at big banks that do training programs now aren't teaching entrepreneurship or how to build your own business. They're sort of having you learn how to be in a bank branch versus how to start your own business. And you and I know, and I think this is part of a piece of this has to do with women, is that the way to build wealth in this business is to own your own business, right? And to build it. And that's different than working in a bank branch. And I wonder if you found this to be the case. So when I was hiring, women for my branches, they often didn't want to take the commission job. They took another job where they, hey, I can give you a $50,000 base, but you can make 200. Somebody's offering me 90. I'm going to take that. That's a better deal. So I felt like that was a struggle to try to get folks to understand the commission really can work if you make it's not a joke. We can
and I think that's where being a part of a very strong ensemble practice where you have the opportunity to go independent. I started in the insurance world. Many people, men and women, started with a large insurance company, and that was my way into financial services. But I think working with teams, working for an organization, RIA or broker dealer that has great trainings that can help you evolve from just being a real financial planner and salesperson. The other where Avantax has an advantage is because we work with CPAs.
Yeah.
Women see the path to be a CPA. Our profession does not attract women generally great at attracting and recruiting women and them seeing it as a natural path. But they might, through what you just said, they might start out in a bank or in a insurance company in an operational role, and they evolve because someone shows them that it can be done and how they can do it, and kind of letting go of that very, very fearful part of there being a salary, moving on to generating your own wealth
and for your family and for your
right.
family future. And the thing I always stress is if you're your own boss, you're your own boss, and you can have your kids in the office. And not only that, you should go to the baseball games, the lacrosse games, the field hockey. You should go because you're going to meet clients there. You're gonna. That's how you're going to network. So it's a great job for family oriented people, all of them, and women.
It is, and I would argue a little bit. Not argue, but I would say this has really changed. Men take paternity. When a woman still carries the baby. And that hasn't changed, Tony, but men and women share in that first early few months where they'd like their child at home before daycare or having someone come in. So I think that is another change in the industry where strong corporations, I think most corporations and companies offer maternity and paternity leave. So the man and woman can share in that, or the partners can share in that, whatever your situation is. But so you can both share in it, not being maybe the person, the mom who traditionally carried the baby.
Yeah, and I think that also speaks to brand. I mean, wouldn't, as a brand, you want to be seen, if you're a dad, be seen as the family guy who takes care of his family, and that's, again, on the sidelines of the game, at the event, or wherever it is you're going to meet clients potentially, that's what you're representing.
Correct. So I think we're evolving and getting to the right place of where we need to be. And I think the programs you build within your organization, inclusion is just the right thing to do. It's good people behavior. It's human behavior. And sometimes I think people make the topic more difficult or more confusing than it is. It's just the way you show up. You think about any industry, any sport, think of the country as a whole, how we are evolving in all those ways with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and women, and all of those things across the way. It's just about human decency to me. If people put in the work, they deserve an opportunity at the table and an opportunity to shine and make it work for them.
For sure. And look, and we also made I think a compelling business case, which is that the boomer generation is aging and the women are going to control there. And all advisors who run businesses, if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to ask yourself, how can I adopt a female-friendly presence in the marketplace so that I can recruit women to my team, so that they can service more female clients or help me get more female clients? I mean, just as a practical matter. So I guess I would ask you that question. So if you're a like-minded advisor and you want to sort of adopt this more female-friendly presence in your network, in your marketing area, and I want to recruit female advisors, how do I do that? Or what are some good ideas?
So it's where it goes back to your marketing and your niche, and it is where you spend your time. So where do you spend your time as a financial professional focusing on clients that you want to attract? So going to the events where women attend that are women that would be women who would invest with you. So and that's across the board. It could be going, here you go to your Rotary clubs, or you go to, there was a traditional event. You go to events that attract women. A lot of those events are conferences that people like you all hold all over the country, where you'll find other like-minded women. And then digital marketing has hit like an all-time high. So where do women go digitally, and what are the things they watch, and what are they interested in, and doing marketing there? And a lot of social media marketing, and kind of coming into new age. And I think it's also educating yourself on what professions are women being attracted to and are women succeeding in.
Well, you mentioned the CPA role. Let's talk a little bit more about that, and how they work with Avantax, and also how women fit in there.
Right. So we just got an award that we're in the independent space with a number 2 IBD for women that are financial professionals. So to be an accountant or a CPA is a profession. It is proven that women going to school, becoming an EA on their own, just out there in business, find a way to, or are attracted to. So that is how we've leveraged the CPA industry to educate, nurture, and promote women. A perfect example is we have a women's practice in Texas, fabulous CPA firm and financial advisor. We have another practice that's predominantly female in Milwaukee. the networking, these two women are friends. They go to our conferences. But when Charlene Wearing was looking for a succession, she had many people in her area that she trusted and would work with. But she said, I'm not selling the businesses separately. Taxes have become, critically important, especially, and maybe, I think, nervous over the COVID time and the things we've gone through. So she said, I want to sell them together. And I said, well, Charlene, you work with Lisa Pugel on many things, and advisor council and many other things together. And you said Lisa was wanting a presence in Texas. Why don't you talk? They have merged successfully, and Lisa's going to be her succession. And they are in the top 10 of all firms at Avantax today. That came from just, really having the conversation. Does it have to be the person up the street, or can it be someone else that that's like-minded and that could handle her tax business? Because many people wanted her, her wealth management business, but not everyone who had a CPA firm had the bandwidth to take on her tax business. It wasn't that they didn't want to, but you have to have the bandwidth to take it on. And they are flourishing. And it was so great to be in London at our top producers event when they were in the top 10. And it's a very female dominated firm. So I think those types things, the synergies you have there. And then I think it's education, Tony. What predominantly was women yesterday might not be tomorrow. So what are the avenues for you to educate yourself? Where I know that I have one of our advisors works with a lot of female executives at Boeing. I wouldn't have naturally, my uncle worked at Boeing in Kent, Washington. I would have naturally not thought that that was evolving as well. So I think what we're finding and what you've been talking about is we are evolving in professions all over the country. Educate yourself where they need your help. And females are very in touch with community outreach and younger kids on finances and why it's important, and educating the underserved. So it's something they do that to other avenues, other organizations where you will find that the presence of female professionals in those organizations.
Right. That's great advice. And I think that that's the kind of thing that all advisors should think about as they're building their practices, make sure it is reflective of the larger community, right? And those are good ideas to get in front of some of those groups yourself, and especially if you have a mindset like that, that's something you want to help, and you could also increase your business. So believe it or not, we're over 20 minutes of talking about this topic, which I'm sure we could talk another 20. We could do this again, Laurie. But is there anything that you want to talk about that I didn't ask you about?
Well, just in closing, when I talk either for Avantax or go to an industry conference, I many times find something in a feed that I have or on my phone. Something comes up that gets me excited about talking that day. And when I spoke in Atlanta at a women's conference, a feed came up and it was Morgan Freeman being interviewed. And you might remember 20 years ago when Mike Wallace interviewed him and asked him if he could garner the same salary as his white counterparts. And he said, why are you asking me that? Invite us to the table. We want to put in the work. Well, when someone asked him that this year, he said, every day of the week, 3 times on Sunday, change the narrative. If you put in the work, you be invited to the table. And I think that goes across the board. So, and when I spoke on that, I actually had 4 Black women come up to me after the session was over and said, thank you. We want a place at the table. We believe we should be here. So it's inclusion all the way around, but it's also about the difference in men and women, and we are different, and that's okay. That's good. And really, using those with our male allies and with our male counterparts to be the best we can be and make the best of each other.
Great. That's a great message. Thank you, Laurie. Appreciate you being here.
Okay. Thanks a lot.